Hi there. I have a channel message for you for your highest good. And I trust that this video found you at the right time. So very interesting energy here right off the bat. And I do want to say, first of all, I think there really is a need to recognize just how far you have come on this journey, this spiritual journey that you are on. It may really benefit you to sit with the process that you've gone through and looking back at all of the events that have led up to this moment. I feel like there's a point of completion that you are potentially trying to reach, to step into some kind of a new life that is more in line with your authentic self and who you are. And sitting with the past even 10 years from a place of unconditional love, I think is going to help you become more secure in the idea of the divine timing of all of this. I'm getting that you're aware of this, but potentially that could really help you, because being at peace with the process is going to allow you to move more freely. And like I was saying, I feel like you have come so far, and potentially you are not the same person that you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I'm talking a completely different person. So definitely sit with that. In the overall energy, I do pull the Hierophant card here. Now, this card in particular in this deck, it does speak about traveling to seek out a mentor, only to be told, while the journey is appreciated, it's important to remember that so much of the inner wisdom, well, I just gave it away because I said it, inner wisdom, so much of the wisdom is found within. And I really feel like you want to, and that's this woman here, this who's been on this journey, and she's seeking out this very large Hierophant figure. I really feel like you're trying to create a new life where you are the authority. And if the external is more in line with your authentic self and you're having experiences in life that are congruent with who you are, that's almost stepping into your authority and your power fully, which is not a bad goal to have. I feel you. It's good. I totally see in the rest of these cards that there is a journey that's happening and potentially a point of completion that is the progress that you're making towards it is very tangible, but almost like the more you grow, I'm getting, the further back the completion point becomes, because you see your full power and the potential of your expansion at this point. So it's almost like, I don't want to say like the goalposts are moving, but like as you expand further and further, it's like the possibilities are becoming so much more grand and like outside of the scale of what you thought was possible initially. So I do get the World card in reverse here. In your current external situation. And I did notice here too that there are these wings. It's a bit like Libran energy, like the bat, like the scales and like the wings, like the symmetry of it. So I feel like balance and coming into balance here is almost the key. And I say that because I get a lot of swords and earth and fire in your current and past energy, but no water. And in your future situation, we have the Knight of Cups and the Page of Cups. So I feel like the water and the emotions is really going to be the thing that creates that final point of balance for you. I pulled a couple of animal spirit cards, and on the top of the deck, I get the otter spirit. You are never alone. The otter, and the otter does live in water, and I love that it's shaped like a heart here. If you can see the card, it's like in the shape of a heart, which is going back to what I was saying about the emotions and the cups. There's really something here. The Knight of Emotions, or what would typically be seen as the Knight of Cups, it can represent like vulnerability, and like the term like wearing your heart on your sleeve. That's really that energy. And I feel like the more you move into that vulnerability, and really expressing how you feel to people, that's when this Page of Cups is going to come in, like new emotional opportunities, potentially like a new love interest or something like that, or a new way to nurture those emotions. Bear with me here. I just want to read a part of this Otter Spirit card, because there's some really tangible advice in here, and I think it lines up with the general theme of the reading. It says, Otter Spirit has appeared to remind you to experience and express friendship in a tangible and even tactile way. Communicate with your voice, your facial expressions, your gestures, and your actions, letting your love express yourself beyond just the words you speak. Otter Spirit's message is that presence matters, so remember to be fully present with those you care about, helping them sense the love and affection and appreciation you have for them. So being fully present here in your emotions and your vulnerability, I think is going to unlock so much of your full potential, and it's really going to help you attract, on a vibrational level, people that you want in your life and situations that you want in your life, and just being really open and not afraid to feel those emotions and express them. Because if you're playing it small or hiding your emotions or not wanting to connect with people on an emotional level, it's really hard then for you to move into experiences that are in line with you, because it's like the things that make you feel good and feel love and feel like yourself are almost like being pushed away, because there's a fear of being vulnerable potentially, or some kind of hesitancy around fully expressing yourself. In your past energy, I get the Seven of Swords and the Seven of Pentacles, which that really is in line with what I'm thinking here about not wanting to be vulnerable and emotional, and even potentially trying to control through logic. And I'm really getting using like mental like obfuscation or like tactics to control conversations or your relationships, not trying to control other people, but instead of being vulnerable, you can potentially use clever wordplay, or like maybe there's a way that you want to fully express yourself and you'll share that with somebody, but you'll turn it into a joke or something, you know what I mean? Like, or you'll play it off as like, oh, it's not that serious, but like, you know, but you're like, I'm being serious and this is how I feel, but I'm just joking. Like, it's that half in, half out kind of energy. I hope I'm making sense there. Which is very easy to do if you don't feel comfortable being fully vulnerable. But I really get that in your past energy, and potentially coming from a place with the Seven of Pentacles here, where you may use these mental tactics and try to suss people out and then wait to see how they're going to respond, and if it's safe for you to be in relationship with this person. Because it's like, maybe potentially in the past, it's like coming from, it's not safe for me to fully be myself. So potentially I have to strategize around how I'm presenting myself with people and how I'm connecting with people, because if people knew the real me, they might not fully like me, or some kind of energy. There's really some energy around that. But I'm getting that you're seeing that because in your past situation, I get the Nine of Wands and I get the Two of Pentacles. So the Nine of Wands can be like feeling exhausted, or like you've done too much or been doing too much, or feeling like you need to defend yourself. And the Two of Pentacles being that juggling energy. So it's almost like these mental tactics that you've employed in the past to maintain relationships is just too much work. And now you're fully stepping into your authenticity and doing the things that you really want to do and experiencing life the way that you want to experience it. And it's almost like really shining this light on the way you relate. And you're like, man, it's way too much work. Like the way I'm trying to maintain my relationships is too much work. Like I wish I could just be free. I wish I could just be vulnerable and potentially not even consciously aware of what that process is going to look like, but knowing that a change needs to be made, because there's relationships in your life, I feel like, potentially that are just too much work. And I'm not saying you have to abandon those relationships. It's just like, how can we make things easier by me fully stepping into my authenticity? And it's like love it or leave it kind of energy. Like, and you don't have to be a bad person or anything. Like it's all with love, but some people don't blend and don't connect, and that's fine. So you want to attract people that are in your vibration, and everything's going to get a lot easier. So like I was saying, it really, I feel like this World card in reverse with the balance, symmetry and imagery around it is sort of what you're trying to move into, and like the emotions and the vulnerability and being able to connect more on an emotional level without worrying too much about the past and the future and the thoughts. That's really going to create this balance that is then going to allow you to move into this new stage of your life with speed. And in your current energy, I do get the Eight of Wands. So it's like, I really feel like you are definitely in the process of working through all of these things. And you are consciously aware that changes need to be made. And maybe that's why you're here watching this video. I do think it's so hilarious in looking at this card. I just see now, it's this woman here. She's wearing these massive heels, and she is just like charging ahead. Like, how can I say this? I don't know. It's like, I don't want this to sound bad, but it's almost like the energy of, I'm not saying this is exactly it, but just the overall energy of like, you see this completion point, and it's so funny thinking about it. Like, and you've almost gotten like dressed up to step out onto the stage and be like, I'm here, like this is my new life. Like you've dressed the part, and now you're like, oh, this is really hard. There's more balance needed, and you're like charging ahead in these heels that you've put on or something like that. It's like there's parts of the process are complete. I'm getting like there's things here that you've worked through, and you've come so far on this spiritual journey, and there's things here that are looking really good and don't need any more change or working through or like tinkering with them, you know, like there's no more experimentation needed. There's things here that are really good, and it's almost like the emotions and the vulnerability is like one of the last steps here, and just being vulnerable with life and the world and source, and having those honest conversations with yourself and source through meditation, asking source for help in a really vulnerable way, and being vulnerable with what yourself and what your needs are could be really beneficial here. So going back to this Hierophant card, she did say that, the Hierophant did say, I'm paraphrasing here, but a lot of the wisdom can be found within you, sweet child. So in line with that, I do have this Chameleon Spirit card here. It says act as if. The number 14 might be relevant here. It's a super sacred number. I have a lot to say about the number 14. That might be another video, but there's a lot of soul energy in that number. Human, there's a lot of it is the connection between the human and the divine and source with that number, adding up to 5, and where 5 is sort of like the human number, because we have like 4 limbs and a head. It's kind of like the starfish, like the 5. But anyway, it says act as if. So I feel like living in the end, and like I was saying, you're trying to create a life where your experiences more consistently mirror your internal state. So acting as if, I think, is going to be a huge thing. And to not be vulnerable and to hide your vulnerability and to not fully show and feel your emotions and express your emotions, that really contradicts acting as if. Because if you're acting as if and there's something that is outside of your frequency that you would consider to be acceptable in your life, then there's going to be all of this noise, because that saying, like, conflict delayed is conflict multiplied. So it's like, if you don't express how you feel about the situation and the frequency, the change isn't going to happen. And these external circumstances that aren't in line with you, they're going to keep repeating themselves until you do express yourself in a vulnerable way and show the world that, no, like, I didn't ask for that. That's not my life. I'm over here, and more focusing on what you do want and really keeping your focus there and living in the end. I really get that that's the message here. Then these two cards here, really interesting. I get Frog Spirit, clear out the clutter, and Elephant Spirit, learn from the past. So it's like there really is a need here to, like I was saying, not focus so much on what you have experienced and what you don't want, and just clearing it out and getting rid of it. And even in the physical, like getting rid of things that no longer serve you. And even relationship dynamics, like I was talking about before. You don't have to completely abandon people, but just showing up in a way like, this is who I am, and this is how I'm going to act. And, you know, I'd love it if we can still be in relationship, but this is how I'm going to be. And maybe if things don't look a certain way, or if somebody says something that you wouldn't consider acceptable, it's like clearing that out and being vulnerable and saying, look, like, I don't like it when you say that to me. I don't like when you project that belief onto me. Like, it makes me feel this way. It makes me feel sad. It makes me feel angry. And it like doesn't have to turn into a big argument. It can just be, okay, this is how I feel. This makes me angry when you do this. What's the solution? Like, and then even coming at it from a more practical way. And then hearing their side of the story may illuminate things for you even further. So then we're moving into like a stage of really healthy growth with our relationships, because being vulnerable doesn't just mean like having an emotional reaction to something and then we leave it there. It's like we can be vulnerable in a calm and loving way, and then we can adapt together and we can grow together and learn from that. So yeah, definitely a need to remember where you've come from. And like I said, you've been through so much and grown so much, and just sit with how far you've come, and that is going to inform where you're going and where you want to go. And just getting rid of the stuff that you don't need anymore in terms of beliefs, old belief systems that maybe keep resurfacing for you. You go, I don't believe that anymore. Really letting go of things here. And that's funny too. Under the Hierophant here, I do get the Three of Cups in reverse, and the Lovers too under that. So it's like the Lovers it can represent like a choice in love. It's a really beautiful card too. It's got that lotus flower on it. The Three of Cups in reverse is interesting here. It's almost like there could be a need to let go of people who aren't in line with your purpose, and not necessarily fully letting go, but just creating those boundaries. Like there could be someone around you who you feel like, I just want to say like partying a lot. Like I don't want to get down into the nitty gritty, because it's really like it's going to resonate differently for everybody, these energies. But like this Three of Cups in reverse and the Lovers, I really get like there's a choice that can be made here to move away from people who aren't interested in building this new life that's a lot more functional, and we're doing work that's more in line with ourselves. And like that takes vision, and it takes building, and it takes work. Like and emotional work is work, and potentially there might be someone around you who is not interested in doing the emotional work. They're more interested in hanging out and just like partying, which is fine, but potentially like a boundary there could be useful for you. And then finally, in your future energy, in your actions, and this is where you're moving towards here with the Eight of Wands, you are charging into this new stage where we get the Page of Wands and the Chariot in reverse. So I really feel like the Page of Wands is, like I was saying, stepping more into that place where you're taking action that is fully authentic, because now you're being vulnerable. So there's no need to control or pretend or suss people out or strategize. It's like I'm gonna, as the chameleon spirit said, I'm gonna act as if, I'm gonna take that inspired action, I'm gonna do what inspires me, I'm gonna find new ways to move in this life and develop my vision more. And once this cycle's complete, I'm on a journey again now. Like there's a completion point that you're trying to reach, but then there's a new journey that starts after that completion happens. And it's like you're really just coming more in line with who you really are and what you want to do. And the Chariot in reverse, I really read this as potentially the resistance that you have been facing in the completion of this cycle. So I really feel like there's going to be so much more clarity around the action that needs to be taken. And it's like you're charging ahead into wanting to know what it's going to take to reach this completion point. And I really get the Chariot here as like you're going to come up against that resistance and you're going to be like, perfect, because like I know what the resistance is. So how do we move from there? Like what action do we take from there? Just give me 1 second, sorry. Oh, I'm getting parched. Shout outs to, her name's Cara Elizabeth, Cara Elizabeth, Cara Elizabeth. I just want to mention her, Not that she needs a shout out for a B, but she speaks a lot about body tech and how our bodies are manifesting machines. Definitely go check her out. I feel like many people watching this would find her ideas super useful, and they're really mind blowing. She's an incredible human. And she speaks a lot about putting your body in positions where you're mirroring what you're dealing with and what you're moving through, and in that as above so below aspect. So like as an example, she'll say, okay, if you're trying to let go and there's something that you want to let go of and you're speaking, you're saying, okay, I'm letting go of this, instead of just sitting there or saying it, getting down onto the floor into like a squat position, like that really primal, like as if you're like, you know, letting go of or releasing something, like getting into that body squat and saying, I release this, and just breathing and like really breathing through that process. I'm not going to fully do it, but you get the idea. And she does speak about resistance, and like if you're coming up against resistance in your life or feeling that resistance, it's good to then take like a solid surface or something, I'll use this desk here, and like really getting your hands and like pushing into it, like really resisting, like becoming the resistance and pushing as hard as you can and fully embodying the resistance and saying like, I am the resistance and I can move through the resistance because I am it. So it's like, it's not bigger than me, it's not greater than me, and it's not separate from me. Like it just the act of experiencing the resistance, that means that you're on that spectrum somewhere. So if you're experiencing the resistance on one end of the spectrum, you can move on to the other end of the spectrum. That's totally what that means. So all of that I'm saying really just because I get that from the Chariot in reverse, like the being unable to move, and it can be a really good and illuminating thing. And just embodying the resistance and saying, no, like this is me, and like I am going to experience the other side of it. Check out Cara Elizabeth. She can say it a lot more eloquently than I can, but that might be really helpful for you here. So yeah, maybe if we just get some like clarification around some of these cards. First, I want to clarify the World card in the sense that I want to get more information around what is coming more into balance. I did talk about emotions and vulnerability as being the key here, but I just want to mix it up a bit and get some clarity around that. Okay, Ten of Cups in reverse. Queen of Wands in reverse. Okay, interesting. And the Ten of Wands. So what's that all about? I really get that, like, going back to what I was saying about the way you relate to people and not being your fully authentic self, potentially the Queen of Wands in reverse and the Ten of Cups in reverse here, I'm really getting that there isn't going to be this need to get emotional fulfillment from other people. Like, it's great to be in relationships with people and have loving relationships, and we need them. We need relationships in life, I believe, because we're tribal. And if we're fully isolated, it can create a lot of problems. So I don't want to say like don't get any fulfillment from your relationships, but I feel like this validation and this emotional fulfillment is really going to start coming from within here as you fully step into knowing that you can fulfill yourself emotionally. And the Ten of Wands here is super interesting, but I want to interpret this as potentially like there may be some emotional work here as you step into this vulnerability. there may be some emotional work here that doesn't feel super good and might be a little bit painful, and there may be some realizations around the way you've been showing up, and even without intellectualizing it too much. Like, and what I mean by that is, like, I feel like you might just feel things, but you might not know why. Like, it's coming from a past trauma or a past situation, but it's not even about what's happening in your head. It's happening in your body, and you're feeling those things in your body. And I really get that Ten of Wands is talking about moving through that process, kind of with your head down a bit, and not in a way where you're not paying attention to the signs and you're not listening, but just in the way that you know that this is a process that needs to happen, and I need to feel these emotions, and I just need to sit in them and feel them. That's what I'm getting. It's like just sitting in it. Okay, yeah. And the Three of Wands in reverse. So that's, to me, is like not waiting to see when the end is, or waiting to see the results. Like, take yourself out of the result a little bit here and just move through that emotional resistance and those feelings, and sit with the feelings and see what it has to tell you. And like I was talking before about spectrums, like if you feel like you're on one end of the spectrum emotionally, and even if it's really painful, like really far on one side of the spectrum, you can experience then the other side of that. So it's like not worrying too much about when or how you're going to get there, but just feeling it and knowing that that's going to be a solution for you, and just seeing what those emotions have to show you. So I'm really getting that. And finally, I do want to clarify this Chariot in reverse. So, which I think we've almost half done that with this emotional work that we're doing, because that's really where the point of resistance is here. And I'm getting potentially it's been really safe for you to be in your mind and think about things, like, because that's how you control, or that's how you even feel like you're in control, like trying to predict the future. Like, it's so natural for our brains to want to map out the future and predict, because that's our inbuilt safety mechanism. But it's almost like we've got to rise above that and really strengthen our connection with Source here, and our bond with Source, and faith. I'm getting faith is really important here. And the Hierophant card being in the overall general energy, like, and me talking before about this is a spiritual journey that you're on, and having faith that fully being vulnerable in your relationships here and your emotions is going to lead to the result, even though your brain can't even make sense of it because it's all new and you don't know. Yeah, okay, so that's clarifying the Chariot in reverse. I do get... Okay. Alright, slow down. So I get the on the bottom of the deck, I get the Death card in reverse. So it's like a transformation that is not wanting to be made here, or like fully, like I'm talking about this whole time, like being vulnerable and then letting go of the old ways of controlling mentally. There's almost like a delay here, or a not wanting to do it because of potentially the pain. And the Four of Pentacles here and the Knight of Wands. So it's like really holding on to feeling stable. And it's like maybe it's totally it. Like, it's like in order for you to take action in the past, you've needed to feel stable in your thoughts. And it's like you need to have an idea somewhat of where you are going to feel like, okay, like I'm safe to move now. I'm safe to take action. And then the Moon card in reverse. So it's like exactly what I was saying, like not wanting to go down that path of the unknown. saying, okay, like, I don't know what's there, so I'm just going to wait here. And I'm going to really sit and think about what that might look like before I take a step. I'm really going to analyze it. And it's like, I feel like there's a need here to get out of that analytical mind, or at least put it more into balance. There's like a lack of balance here because of this need to have faith and be vulnerable and to really connect with source in a way where there is more faith and less of a need to see where you're going. Because the Chariot upright, right? It really represents being able to be free to move. Like, outside of the matrix and your beliefs and what your external looks like. It's like having your external situation, but then still being free to move wherever you want, despite those circumstances. And you are, but it's about the level of faith that you have and your ability to have that mental control and that knowing and not falling back into the old paradigm of cause and effect and strategizing and having to work in the 3D. Like, the Chariot can move outside of all of that. It doesn't need it doesn't need to look at the external because it's free to move. And I feel like that's where you want to go. I really feel like that's what you want, because like right at the start of the reading I was talking about having a life that's more in line with your internal and your external matching your internal. And now it's just coming to me now. It's like, well, I understand the goal, and that's what we want, is to have our external reflect our internal. But are you potentially maybe a little too attached to that idea, because it's still coming back to that safety thing? And it's like, well, if my external matches my internal, I'm getting the reassurance from source that what I'm doing is working. But it's like, sometimes life is about maintaining that vibration and doing that work inside of yourself and holding that frequency, even when the external doesn't look how it wants to. And sometimes the external's working in a way that is for your highest good, and it's trying to turn you into the person that you want to be. But your brain has no way of understanding what the process looks like. And there is a need sometimes to trust the process. Just trust the process. And that, not even like figuring out where you're going and then trusting it in that. I mean, fully surrendering. There is a need here to fully surrender. And it's like I was talking at the start about how the more you expand, the more your goals change. So it's like you're never potentially getting to that final point of completion because you're growing so much. And this is going to be another massive point of expansion here. There is a need to like fully surrender and get this world card and chuck it in the bin. Like, see, I know it sounds bad, but like you're in it. Like you're doing life. You're doing life. And the more you have the vulnerability and you're connected to your emotions, you're going to be able to feel where you want to be, despite what anything is telling you. It's all coming from within. And the ability to feel like you want potentially a certain outcome because it makes you feel a certain way. But what if you could just create the outcome inside of yourself? What if you could just have the feeling without the thing? That's the key here. Fully surrendering the external and not worrying about it. And have your goals, have your visions, have your desired outcomes. That's fine. But you got to let go of that and realize that the emotional vortex is everything here. You can create the feeling without being in the situation. You have the power. And becoming more vulnerable and in touch with your emotions is going to be the step to fully realizing that. Abraham Hicks might be super useful here. She talks about this a lot. It's all feeling it. It's all feeling it. The chameleon spirit, like I was talking about, chameleon. Act as if. Act as if. I was talking about that number 14, like the card had this message in it, but it's actually everything. Acting as if. It's the answer here. Fully surrender. And practice emotional control. And being able to respond in the way that you want and generate the feelings that you want to feel first. And everything will fall into place. You don't have to worry about the external anymore. Because we're surrendering. What's the advice from the moon? I got to get out of here. I don't want to... You know, I think the reading's long enough. I think the message is really clear here. I just want some final advice from the moon. And then we'll kick it. A fiery climax approaches. This is it. This is it, guys. A personal issue reaches resolution. The end of a tough cycle approaches. Don't let pride get in your way. A few readings ago, it was really funny. I pulled all new moon cards. It was like this fully new cycle or this new realization. And now, as I'm talking about surrendering, letting go, moving on from the completion, dude, like all full moon cards. I'm losing my mind here. Full moon in Aries, a fiery climax approaches. Full moon in Cancer, a personal issue reaches resolution. And then full moon in Capricorn, the end of a tough cycle approaches. And then full moon in Leo on the bottom of the deck. And then under the full moon in Leo, full moon in Gemini, the answers you need are coming. So incredible. This is a huge thing. Full moon in Sagittarius, look at the bigger picture. It doesn't want to stop. It's telling you this is the point of completion. This life that you want, it's here now. It's here now inside of you. The emotional control and the emotional vortex it's going to change everything here because you already have it. It's in you. You already have what you want. North Node. I'm going to leave it there. North Node. You are following your high purpose and you're following your North Node here. I guarantee this is you. You're doing the thing. You're on a spiritual journey and you're doing it. And what matters is that you're moving in the right direction. Because like I was saying, the outcome keeps changing as you grow. You're growing into this beautiful spiritual person who's fully co-creating. And you're going to get the control that you seek through letting go of control. Step out of your comfort zone. It might not be fully comfortable for you to do it, but you're doing it. I'm so proud of you. I'm so pumped now. That reading it gave me so much energy. Thank you. Thank you so much for doing all of this work. And thank you so much for sharing this space with me. I really, really appreciate it. And I will see you in the next one.